102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
What's up, Montana? Welcome in. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Coulter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Plenty to get to here today. We're going to give you a rundown. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? What am I talking about, a rundown? We're going to keep on talking Big Sky Conference football. That's going to be the formative part of this show for, the next 6 months. We're also going to talk some NFL. That will also be a formative part of this show for the next 6 months. We're also going to talk some baseball. That will be a formative part of this show for the next, what month is it? July? I guess 3 months into October with the baseball playoffs. I'm not going to say rapidly approaching, but certainly creeping up. Playoff races, pennant races, certainly in full flux right now. And whatever else we can get to. So I appreciate you for hanging out with us here on this Thursday. We also got some free beer for you, courtesy of DraftWorks. So stay tuned for that. And we'll just keep on having as much fun as we possibly can here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. If you want to stream the show, you always can, 1029ESPN.com. You can also find us on the ESPN MT app. You can also find us on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitch. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out. Subscribe to our podcast channel. That also helps us out. Anyway, we can sort of track engagements. Here's the thing. We have ratings and the radio cumes and all that sort of stuff, but we like to know what's going on with our digital side of things. I know there's plenty of you out there that watch on YouTube, watch on Facebook. So drop us a comment. Ask us a question. Let us know what you're thinking about. And if you want to be a part of the show, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. And all guests will join us via the ESPN MT phone line. Cool deal yesterday with Montana State getting to go to the White House, Montana State football, that is. I know that everything that possibly involves D.C. or the president or politics or the Senate or the Capitol or any of that stuff somehow, some way is controversial or breeds emotional reaction. And I guess I would say that's fine, and also that we should just be better than that. But also, this is not a political show. So I guess my only take on that is that anybody that thinks that Montana State should have said no to going to the White House and hanging out with the president, doesn't matter if you love or hate Donald Trump, but particularly if you hate him, if you are feeling some sort of way about Montana State going there, and you think they should have made a different decision, I just think that if you have the opportunity to go to the White House to visit the President of the United States, period, doesn't matter who the president is or what he stands for or what you think of him, you go. So that's my final thought on that. I've heard a lot about that from a lot of different people, and I just think that, again, you think whatever you want about Donald Trump. You think whatever you want about American politics. You could think whatever you want about a lot of different things. It's a once-in-a-lifetime, or at least a once-in-a-generation opportunity to go to the White House. So, Cool for Montana State, but that also maybe influence how the next couple of days go. But that was the news of the week. That was one of the news pieces of the summer. Your other news of the day, though, on a much more positive note, Coulter Nico Larson, an unbelievable performance the last several days up in Lethbridge. And the Missoula Mavericks, the three-peat. First time a three-peat has happened since 2003. The Helena Senators, the last American Legion team in the Montana-Canada stratosphere to win 3 state championships in a row. Brent Hathaway, the manager for the Mavs, had led Missoula to back-to-back championships 3 different times leading up to this last back-to-back. So this was their 4th overall. They won 9 championships overall under Hathaway, but he went back-to-back 4 different times. So 8 of the 9 have come in consecutive order, but the three-peat has fallen short the first 3 tries until this time. The Mavs got it done with well, first of all, they had the walk-off win against Lethbridge to clinch the regular season number 1 seed, take the top seed to the state tournament. Then their pitching staff was unbelievable. This was held in Lethbridge, Alberta. And their pitching staff was absolutely lights out. They didn't give up a single run for the first 3 games. Then they squeezed out a 7-6 win on Tuesday to help get them into the championship round undefeated, which then gives you a huge advantage because you only have to win once and the other team has to beat you twice. But they didn't mess around with any of that either. They posted a 6-5 win over the Billings Royals, and they earned the three-peat. First three-peat in Montana and in the American Legion Montana-Alberta AA state championship in almost a quarter century. Nico Larson, who is a College of Idaho football player and a Missoula Big Sky graduate, he placed the finishing touches on the state tournament to earn MVP honors. He pitched the last 2 1/3 innings, scoreless relief, got the final out of the game. He also had a couple doubles and knocked in a couple runs, and he was named the state tournament MVP. He hit .529 for the tournament, 9 for 17 with 5 RBI, 4 doubles, and he also had a stellar pitching line, 3.2 scoreless postseason innings across the 3 state appearances he had, and none were more important than the state title game. So good job by Coulter Nico Larson, and great job by the Missoula Mavs. That's a pretty cool deal. Now they head to the American Legion World Series. So this has happened 2 years in a row where they win, and then they have just such a short turnaround. So we actually haven't been able to get any of the Mavs players on here even after these state championship wins, because we've always just been able to effort Brent Hathaway, and he's been kind enough to come on the last several summers. But it's just a circumstance. That's all. That's all. But these guys deserve a ton of credit. Pretty cool that Missoula has been the baseball epicenter the last couple of years. Missoula Sentinel winning the baseball championship this last year. That was the first AA city, first AA school to win a Montana high school baseball championship. It's only been around for about 3 years. So a cool deal there. Nuanez Now 109 ESPN Radio. Thirsty Thursday coming up, courtesy of DraftWorks. We're going to give you a $25 gift card from DraftWorks Brewery. Ask us a question. What do you got? What are you burning on? What sort of things are you interested in? What sort of talking points do you have? Questions, comments, opinions, arguments, all of it. Let us know. 406-888-1029. Any and all texts are entered in. Any of the good questions that get read on the radio, you'll become basically like a super semifinalist, and then we'll pick one out of the group of 2 or 3 that we read on the radio, and that's going to give you a $25 gift card to DraftWorks Brewery, one of the best breweries in the state of Montana. Let's dive into some Big Sky Conference stuff. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, back from the Big Sky kickoff a couple days ago. But it's been interesting because, as always, Montana and Montana State are going to dominate the airwaves on this show, but also on a national level. Like the teams in the Big Sky that get talked about in Fargo, North Dakota, on the Mondac football show, which we will be carrying coming up here on ESPN Radio here in the next couple of weeks. wherever. I'm trying to think of other places that have sports talk radio or podcasts or whatever. But there is fan podcasts across the FCS. Jackrabbits Illustrated and FCS Nation and whatever else. Grizz Fan Radio, Grizz Fan Podcasts. But so often it's almost exclusively about the Blue Bloods, and that just is what it is. And I am certainly an elitist when it comes to FCS football, college football in general. I mean, probably just at sports in general. So, I mean, I have a pretty defined opinion about this upcoming football season. I think that in no particular order, Montana State, Montana, and UC Davis are the absolute cut and dry, no question favorites in the Big Sky Conference. I think all three of those teams could win the Big Sky, depending on how things go. I think that Davis has the most favorable schedule. I think Montana State has the most talented roster. And I think Montana has the biggest opportunity because I just think that they're playing with house money a little bit. I know that Bobby Kennedy's coaching for his job, but I also think that the world is wondering what's going to happen with life after Bobby Houck. But the fact that the Grizz actually play in UC Davis, that's one of the toughest road games in the conference this year. I mean, the Grizz have to play at Davis to begin conference and at Montana State in Bozeman to finish conference play. That's no question the toughest bookend you got. Those are also there is no tougher road schedule in the league than Montana's road schedule because there is no two better teams in the league than UC Davis and Montana State. And you got to play at both of them. That said, if you go win at Davis, if you're Montana, you got a lot of momentum for a really long time and an advantageous schedule for basically 2 months until you got to go to Bozeman. But outside of those three teams, we've only talked marginally about the other teams. Somebody texted in the other day, who's a dark horse in the Big Sky? Well, I don't think there is a dark horse to win it. I would bet I don't even know what's an extreme bet. I would bet any and every bet you could possibly come up with that one of those three teams I just named is going to win the Big Sky. The only scenario in which I could see none of those three teams winning the Big Sky is if Montana won at UC Davis to begin the conference season, and then major players for both the Cats and the Grizz got hurt, and both their seasons fell apart, and Davis wasn't able to bounce back from that season opening loss and had injuries too. But other than that, I don't know, man. I just don't think anybody's going to, I don't think any of those three teams are going to lose more than just maybe 1, 2. I mean, the Grizz might lose 3 conference games, but if the Grizz won at Davis, I don't think they're going to lose 3 conference games. I don't think Davis is going to lose. I mean, the over-under for Davis is 1.5 probably. The over-under for the Cats is, because the Cats and Davis don't play each other either. So, I mean, the over-under for the Cats is 1.5. The conference opener against NAU in Bozeman for Montana State, which is a night game on national TV, then into a Friday night game to begin October in Flagstaff. That's the defining moment of Montana State's season, other than finishing the year, of course, with the Brawl of the Wild in Bozeman. Outside of those top 3, I thought I've been so cynical about the Big Sky for a long time, but I actually think that there's like a whole smattering of other playoff contenders. Are any of them going to actually do anything in the playoffs? I don't know. And what's the seeding going to be like when they get in the playoffs? I don't know. But I do think that there's actually a handful of relatively solid programs that exist now in the Big Sky Conference. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a bad thing for the league that none of those solid programs are Eastern Washington, Weber State, or Cal Poly. I think all 3 of those schools should be at least okay. And lately they haven't been. And maybe maybe Eastern Washington found something with Jake Shackle. He was not in the starting lineup until late in the season, but he certainly played amazing in Missoula down the stretch. And he had Eastern in the mix in that game. Cal Poly, new head coach. So maybe that gets them rolling. They got a brand new facility, the John Madden football facility, which that certainly helps when you have. I mean, I think facilities are one of the biggest impacts to success because they can jumpstart recruiting, ignite recruiting, and also contribute to maintenance within recruiting as well. And Weber State, maybe they also get it going a little bit too. I mean, I think Devin Brown, the quarterback, the incoming quarterback, the transfer quarterback, is an intriguing guy. I mean, he spent time at Cal and then he spent time at Ohio State. Didn't work out for him, but he played for Eric Carr, Weber State's new head coach, and Carr is as revered as anybody in the state of Utah when it comes to a guy that's never really coached at the college level. The Big Sky Conference headquarters are located in Salt Lake City. So those Big Sky Conference administrators and officials, they're sort of in it when it comes to Utah scuttle, right? Anything, the narrative around programs in Utah, particularly Weber. So I talked to a lot of those guys at the Big Sky kickoff, and they were singing Carr's praises. Not necessarily that they had any firsthand knowledge, but they were just saying that this guy is a beloved guy around the state of Utah. So I think that helps. I thought Mickey Mental was just a bad fit at Weber State, and I think Carr taking over gives him a chance to jolt it, especially with Devin Brown at his disposal. So the fact that Aaron Best at Eastern Washington has a quarterback, I think that means he has a little bit of a chance to get more competitive. The fact that Weber State, at least you want to believe, has a quarterback. He's got a quarterback with pedigree, and not really a quarterback with any sort of resume other than the schools he's been at, but a quarterback certainly with some recruiting pedigree, no doubt. Maybe those teams are also in the mix, but the teams that I think are going to be the teams that are slugging it out for that fourth, and if the Big Sky is lucky, that fifth playoff spot out of the league, I think those teams are, in order, Northern Arizona, Idaho State, Southern Utah, and Idaho. I kind of want to be wrong about Idaho, because I just think that for the league to be as good as it can be, I think that Idaho needs to be that fourth best team. And again, maybe that things go their way, or maybe Idaho controls its own destiny to the maximum because Idaho has the toughest schedule in the conference. Idaho has one of the top 10 toughest schedules in the league, if you're being completely honest. But guess what? If you have one of those top 10 schedules in the league and you win, then even if you win at a above average level, you go to the playoffs. Here's Idaho's schedule. They start out at Cal Poly, week 0 game, Friday night, one of the first games in college football. It's a cool opportunity, certainly. I mean, I think Idaho, I don't know what Tim Prosser is going to bring to the table at Cal Poly, but I expect Idaho to be better and to win that game. Following week, they're at Utah. They'll lose that one. Utah's a top 25, top 30 program. They got Lamar coming to Moscow. That's an interesting game. They got Abilene Christian coming to Moscow. That's also an interesting game. Let's say they split those, and you're 2-2 going into conference play. All right, now you got Montana State coming to Moscow for that Friday night game after a bye, so that certainly helps you. You're at Weber State. Again, I think Weber's a mystery, but I think you probably win that one. Then you're at Montana. I'm going to give them 1.5 wins right there, so we'll say 1. So we'll give them a 3-4 going into the stretch run. Southern Utah in Moscow, I mean, that's an absolute big-time game. Even if you don't believe in Southern Utah has had a winning record for 3 years in a row, and that's going to be a pivotal game for the Idaho Vandals on October 24th on their home field. And they're at Portland State. I think that's a win. Eastern Washington comes to Moscow. I think that's a win. They got UC Davis in Moscow, not sure, and then Idaho State in Pocatello. That's going to be a pivotal game as well. But if you score it all out, if you got them 3-4 after the Montana game, let's just say they beat Portland State, Eastern Washington. That gets them to 5 wins. Let's say they lose to UC Davis. So then basically, if you get 2 more wins between Southern Utah and Idaho State, you're 7-5, but I think you're a bubble playoff team. If you figure out a way to beat any of those teams, UC Davis, Montana State, or you figure out a way to go 3-1 in the non-conference, Cal Poly, Lamar, Abilene Christian, you're losing to Utah, but 3-1 in the non-conference. And, I think an 8-win team at Idaho with that schedule is going to the playoffs. I think that a 7-win team, even with 5 losses, is actually going to be probably on the playoff bubble. But I just think that if Idaho was a surefire to be that 4th best team, that'd be the best thing for the conference. But again, given their schedule, it's going to be tough sledding. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I do think, though, that Northern Arizona has a chance for a little bit of a bounce-back year. Year 1 under Brian Wright, they were a playoff team without any sort of real fanfare, but they were, they were solid. They went 8-5. They took Arizona down to the wire during the non-conference. They got blown out by Incarnate Word, which is a loss that really hurt them. But then they drubbed Sac State, which is a harbinger of things to come. But then they also lost at Idaho. They lost at Montana. That sort of put their backs against the wall. But then they won out down the stretch. They won 5 in a row. They beat Idaho State, Weber State, at Cal Poly, at Northern Colorado, and Eastern Washington at home. When they laid an egg in the playoffs, they lost 24-0 to Abilene Christian. And I think that produced a hangover. Then last year, a little tougher schedule. They went 7-5, so 1 less win. They went 3-1 in the non-conference, so they lost to Arizona State, but then wins over Utah Tech, Southern Utah, and Incarnate Word. They beat Portland State. They had Montana State on the ropes after the first quarter, but then got absolutely avalanched. That compounded, and then they lost by 3 touchdowns at UC Davis the following week. They beat Idaho State to end October, but then lost to Idaho in overtime. They figured it out and beat Northern Colorado and Cal Poly to get right there on the playoff bubble, but then they lost at Weber State, which is a terrible loss because that was a downtrodden Weber State team, but that Weber State team was also coaching, or was also playing, I should say, for their interim head coach, Brent Meyer's job. And Brent Myers is now, of course, the offensive line coach at Montana. But Mickey Mantle had gotten fired a couple weeks earlier, and Brent Myers was the interim guy. And I think those guys were playing for him for sure, but that's a bad loss by Northern Arizona, and they ducked out and they weren't in the playoffs. But they returned Ty Pennington this year. He should be one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. They returned some other key skill guys. They have a good coaching staff. I've always believed in Brian Wright. I think they got continuity on the coaching staff because a lot of those guys came from Pitt State. And I just think having a veteran quarterback who knows what's going on is going to help them. They also have a backloaded schedule. They play all their tough games early in league play, and then they have a chance to get rolling. So here's NAU's schedule. They open up with Eastern Washington in Flagstaff. I think that's a win. They're at Arizona. That's probably a loss. Then they host Incarnate Word. That's a home, and home. That's a pretty good scheduling coup for NAU. But I have no idea what Incarnate Word is going to be. So let's just call that a coin flip. Then they're at Utah Tech. So I'm saying they're at 2.5 for their non-conference win total. So let's just put them at 3-1 for argument's sake. And they're at Montana State on national TV. That'll be a competitive game, but they'll lose that one. Then they're at Idaho State. That's a huge swing game in the league. There's no question about it. And I think that's going to be one that's going to determine playoff seeding down the road. And then they got Montana in Flagstaff as well. So let's give them one win out of those 3. So now you're sitting there at 4-4. But then you have a chance to get hot, but you're going to have to stay hot. Yeah, Portland State coming to Flag, win. You're at Southern Utah. I think that's a coin flip. It's a rivalry game. But let's just, for argument's sake, give them a win. At Cal Poly, win. Weber State, again, coin flip, but let's lean that way. And then Northern Colorado, win. So I think you got, you got, let's see, 3 coin flip games during your conference play. And you got 3 games you should win. And then you got the Montana schools, which you'll probably lose. That's what makes this interesting for NAU, because if you go 3-3 in those 6, games that aren't the Montana schools, now you're 3-5 and you're out of the playoffs. You go 4-2, okay, you're creeping up towards it. You go 5-1, okay, you go 6-2 and 3-1 in the non-conference, you're going to be knocking on the door of a playoff seed. There's just a lot of different ways this could go. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We've talked a ton about Idaho State. We will talk about them a little bit later on. We've also talked a little bit about Utah Tech and Southern Utah and their presence in the league. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, too. But I wanted to talk about Idaho and Northern Arizona, and also those teams that should have some ground to stand on that maybe haven't had a ground to stand on in a little while. Keep those texts coming in. What do you want us to talk about? We got DraftWorks gift cards for you, $25 to DraftWorks Brewing. Text us. Questions, comments, concerns, talking points, 406-888-1029. That's 406-888-1029. What do you want us to talk about, though? You entered in to win a $25 gift card to DraftWorks Brewing. Talk some baseball on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here, 129 ESPN Radio.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
In honor of our great nation's 250th anniversary, Mattress Firm is having its biggest 4th of July sale ever. The entire lineup of top-rated mattress brands are on sale with prices starting at $149 up to top-of-the-line mattresses with lifetime warranties. Get the sleep you deserve with payments starting at $39 a month. Mattress Firm has pillows, sheets, adjustable bases, all on sale too during their biggest 4th of July sale ever. Locally owned and nationally known Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Montana State football team traveled to Washington, D.C. on Wednesday to be honored at the White House following the program's first national championship in 41 years. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. The Bobcats earned the trip after defeating Illinois State 35-34 in overtime on January 5th in Nashville to capture the football championship subdivision national title, the program's first since 1984. Montana's congressional delegation extended the invitation, continuing a tradition that has also seen recent FCS champions North Dakota State and South Dakota State recognized in the nation's capital. The team visited the White House on Wednesday morning before touring the U.S. Capitol and the Senate later in the day. The Bobcats then returned to Montana, where they will waste little time getting back to work. Montana State opens fall camp Thursday afternoon as it begins its national title defense. The Bobcats return plenty of star power, with 12 players earning preseason All-Big Sky honors, including reigning Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year Caden Dowler, the Billings native who captured the league's Defensive MVP award last season. Across the state, a new era begins in Missoula. The University of Montana opens its first fall camp under head coach Bobby Kennedy on Friday, with the Grizzlies holding their first official practice on Monday. Montana features 3 preseason All-Big Sky selections, headlined by preseason Offensive Player of the Year Eli Gilman. The senior running back enters the season less than 300 rushing yards away from reaching the 4,000-yard mark for his career.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Appreciate you for kicking it. Let's dive into some baseball. First of all, a couple of news briefs, and we'll get to hashing these out at the beginning of hour number 2. But one came down late night on Wednesday, and I guess one came Wednesday afternoon and one came on Wednesday evening. The Wednesday afternoon news brief, Chris White hired as the special teams coordinator for Grizz football. Anybody that's been sort of around in Grizz circles, you know, if you're a booster media guy, if you've been at some spring/summer Grizz events, you've probably seen and maybe even talked to Chris White. I'm not going to blow the whistle on the guy, but he's been around. He's been working. He was at spring ball. He was at various golf tournaments, etc. But it's a long story. There's some contractual things that were holding it back, but he was officially announced as the special teams coordinator here for the Grizz. But he's a guy that has a ton of football experience. A guy that I know that Bobby Kennedy, the head coach of the Grizz, is very excited about. And a guy I think, as Grizz fans get to know him and get to see him, I think they'll be very excited about it as well. White has more than 30 years of coaching experience, coached in the Big Ten, the ACC, and the NFL. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the top of the second hour. The other one that's from Wednesday night, Hank Smith, the senior to be at Frenchtown High School, he is headed to the Montana Grizzlies. So certainly a huge talking point on this show has been the what we would say sort of lackluster recruiting of in-state guys by the Grizz basketball team. But this is certainly one that perks your ears up a little bit. Hank Smith, I think, is an excellent prospect. He's sort of an old school guy. I mean, he is an undersized, like, power forward type. He's a great rebounder. He's tough as nails. He's super explosive. He's got a really high skill set. He's a phenomenal. I mean, he's one of the best dunkers in the state of Montana right now. Frenchtown's been good, and he's been great. And I think it's a good get. I was excited when the Grizz offered him, and it's really cool that Travis DeCure and the boys got a commitment from Hank Smith. So we'll talk about him a little later on here in the show as well. But for now, let's dive into some baseball. The baseball news in Montana today is that the Missoula Mavs are the 3-time state champions in American Legion Baseball. They sewed up their 3rd straight state championship with a win, a 6-5 win over the Billings Royals. Coulter Nico Larson, the MVP of the state tournament, he hit over 500, also pitched really well, had a whole bunch of RBI, and Missoula goes undefeated up in Lethbridge, 4-0, and they take home their 3rd straight state championship. So great job by Brett Hathaway to get his team to peak at the right time, and great job by the Mavs. First 3-time state champion since 2003 in the state of Montana. Diamond Time, probably presented by DeMorris Automotive. DeMorris Automotive has been locally owned and operated for way longer than I've been alive. They've been around forever. They are your GMC Buick dealers, and proud to present Diamond Time each week here on Nuanez Now, talking all things baseball. If you need a GMC, a Buick, head on over to DeMorris Automotive. 115 West Broadway, your Buick GMC Mercedes go-to in western Montana. Missoula Paddleheads had a little bit of a tough first half of the Pioneer baseball season. They were right in the middle of the league, which is a very uncustomary place for the Paddleheads. They've been pretty much lights out, especially during they've actually been ice cold during the playoffs, but they've been lights out during the regular season ever since they became the Paddleheads. But the first half was a struggle. They had a bunch of injuries. They did not have very good pitching. They were giving up runs in bunches. But they've been much better here in the second half. But they took one on the chin on Wednesday night. They lost 22-12 to the Great Falls Voyagers. They still have to play another game in Great Falls, and they come back to Missoula and play 3 more against the Voyagers. The Pioneer League has gotten bigger, so that they're getting better at not having to play those six straight against the same team. That's better for the fans. It's better for the players. It's better for the baseball, certainly. But this is one of those stretches where they still have a couple. This is one of those stretches where it is the same team. It is a home and away, so they're in Great Falls right now. They'll be back in Missoula later on this week. But that loss, the Paddleheads had won 6 out of 9 before that loss, and after the loss, they sit at 10-4 in the second half. So they're a half a game behind Long Beach Coast for second place. Top 2 teams in the first half, top 2 teams in the second half make the playoffs. The Modesto Roadsters are in first place in the second half. They are 12-1. That was after a pretty good first half. Long Beach Coast, they're already in. They were the first half champions. They went 37-11. They sit at 10-3 in the second half. And the Paddleheads are 10-4 in the second half. They sit at 24-23 overall, but they're definitely in the mix. 2.5 games out in the second half. So that could bode well for them to make a run. We shall see. We'll try to catch up with Jeff Safford sooner than later here about all things Paddleheads. But Missoula certainly fighting it out a little bit better here in the second half of the season. Well, it's now on tonight, ESPN Radio. Diamond Time here, talking all things baseball. The Major League Baseball trade deadline is tomorrow. That's right. Yeah, tomorrow, July 31st. Who do we think is buyers and who's sellers? Well, I think the Chicago Cubs have had a great year so far, but they're playing chase still in the National League Central because the Brewers have been one of the best teams in baseball. So I definitely think that the Cubs are going to be buyers. They need a starting pitcher. If they could get a starting pitcher, that'd be huge for them. And I love when the trade deadline rolls around, when there's a great team like the Cubs that have played really well, that also have, advantages as a city, big market. They got a payroll. They got owners that are willing to spend. That's what makes this time of year fun. Look to the south side. Chicago White Sox also need a couple things. Crazy to think they had one of the worst records in all of baseball just 2 years ago. Now they're winning the American League Central. They could go for a lot, but they also need to go for a lot because they're winning the Central, but they're trying to fend off basically everybody in the Central besides the Royals. That's a mediocre division in terms of overall record, but the Tigers, the Guardians, and the Twins are all still in it. Chicago, the White Sox, the Chi Sox have been sort of the Cinderella story of this first 100 games of the year or so. But they're going to have to make a move to hold off everybody else in that division. Yankees, same deal. The Yankees are in the same boat as the Cubs. They don't have quite as good of a record, but the Yankees are still in the mix in the American League East. They got money. They got a stacked roster. They have Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Cody Bellinger. Will they make a move? Can they go get an arm? They need a bullpen arm. They probably need a bat too, but if they could go get a bullpen arm, that'd be pretty huge. Atlanta has had a great resurgence so far this year. They're one of the top teams in the American League East, and I think they're going to be a buyer. They could use pitching of any sort. If they can go get a starting pitcher, a relief pitcher, that'd be big for them. The Mariners somehow are still in the mix, even though they've been totally disappointing so far this year. They've been up and down all over the place. They lost 3 out of 4 this last weekend to the Texas Rangers. But I still think they're probably going to make a run at it because they're still in the mix. They're definitely in the mix for a wild card, but they're still in the mix for their division as well. What do they need? I mean, they need hitting. And that's been the case for the Mariners for 25 years, but they need hitting. And they have good offensive firepower, or at least they should. Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Josh Naylor. They just haven't hit worth a darn this year. It's been brutal to watch, honestly. Brewers have been known to make deadline deals. I mean, they rented CC Sabathia for a stretch run once upon a time, and maybe they go out and do that again. I think they have a chance to go try to pick up a starting pitcher and a bullpen pitcher. They've been excellent. They're one of the best teams in baseball right now. But can they sustain? Can they hang on? This is a time for them to make a move and solidify that, no question. And some of these other teams that have been sort of middling, but maybe have a chance to make a run. The Guardians are one of them. The Guardians or the Tigers, both of those teams. But I think certainly the Guardians, they've been playing chase there behind the Chi Sox. And I think they have a chance to maybe turn the corner. How long Chicago can actually be able to sustain this? Like, again, they lost 121 games 2 years ago. That doesn't mean anything for right now, but also might mean everything for right now. Because how much gas do they have left in the tank? Can they finish it? It's only July. They still got August, September, and early October. So we'll see. And then the last one that I expect to be a buyer is the Boston Red Sox, because the Red Sox were dead. They were dead in the water. They were busted up. They were disappointing. They were terrible. Then they ripped off 16 straight wins, and now they're back into it. Red Sox have won 7 out of their last 10 since the winning streak ended. They're 7 games back in the American League East. The Rays continue to hold court. The Yankees 2.5 games out. But the Red Sox are 2 games up in the wild card. Clear of the Guardians, clear of the Astros, clear of the Twins, clear of the Mariners. So I think that they are thinking that they're a playoff team, even if they didn't think they were earlier this year. Diamond Time, probably presented by DeMorris Automotive. There's a reason customers go back again and again to DeMorris Buick GMC Mercedes, Missoula's most trusted dealership and proud sponsor of Diamond Time and Missoula Paddleheads Baseball. DeMorris Automotive has a high-end service shop, unmatched diagnostics technology, diesel maintenance and repair. DeMorris Buick GMC and Mercedes is your area Sprinter van headquarters for the Montana outdoor lifestyle. Check out DeMorris.com for new and pre-owned inventory, or stop by 3115 West Broadway. A quick little today in baseball history for you. Thought this was a really fun one. I actually got 2 tidbits for you. You circle all the way back. 1921. On July 30th, 1921, so that's 105 years ago, Babe Ruth hit his 139th career home run. Why is that significant? Well, the Major League Baseball record at that time was 138. It's crazy to think about. Roger Connors was the all-time Major League Baseball home run record leader. And then Ruth hit his 139th home run. He'd only been a position player for like 4 or 5 years at that point. Nobody even thought anybody could hit 200 home runs. Well, in 1921, that was his real breakout year. He hit 59 home runs and set the world on fire. And that, of course, then helped him pace to hit 714 home runs, which was a record that stood for decades. And Babe Ruth remains a one-in-one in baseball history. The other fun one, this is also a Yankees slugger. Roger Maris hit his 40th home run of the season in 1961 on July 30th. He was the first Major League Baseball player to hit 40 home runs before August. Babe Ruth had done it the next day on August 1st. Babe Ruth, 1928, hit his 40th home run, but Maris, the first guy to reach 40 in July. Maris, of course, hit 61 home runs that year. That broke Ruth's 1927 record of 60. The 61 home runs held for quite some time until Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, et cetera, and then Barry Bonds, who put it out in the stratosphere at 73. But that record certainly won with what many would say an asterisk by it because of the implication of and the confirmation of drug use during those times. Baseball time, diamond time here on Nuanez Now. Take a break, come back, do some more fun history. That's next. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. 129 ESPN Radio.
In honor of our great nation's 250th anniversary, Mattress Firm is having its biggest 4th of July sale ever. Save up to $1,000 off top-rated Tempur-Pedic, or save hundreds off Purple mattresses and premium adjustable bases. Save up to 50% on top-of-the-line mattresses, all backed by their 365-day guarantee. See store for details. It's their biggest 4th of July sale ever at your locally owned and nationally known Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Want to make the switch to Grizzly Disposal? You can, grizzlydisposal.com, or call them, 406-541-7171. Time for our Mo Club Museum, although this is not a historic fact. We're just going to talk some Grizz football, but it is presented by the Mo Club downtown Missoula. Mo Club has an unbelievable collection of history. If you've never been down there, they have photographs and sort of an homage to Montana history for more than 100 years when it comes to sports. The first time I ever met the new special teams coordinator for the Grizz, he's been in town for a little while, Chris White, was at the Mo Club. And then we went to an event afterwards, but I was very impressed with him. I think he's a very smart guy. It's very fun talking football with him. Chris White has been a veteran of coaching for more than 30 years. He joined the Montana football staff. Bobby Kennedy announced on Wednesday. The school put this out on Wednesday night. He'll start working Friday when they report to fall camp. He spent 19 seasons coaching the Big Ten, the ACC, and the NFL, and he's helped his teams make 13 different postseason appearances. White was the special teams coordinator at UNLV, Cal Poly, Syracuse, Iowa, UConn, Buffalo, and Memphis. He also coached special teams in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings. He also coached tight ends for the Detroit Lions. His other stops included being a position coach at Arkansas State, Holy Cross, Michigan, and Bishop Manogue High School in Nevada. White and Kennedy worked together at Iowa 2013 through 2016 under head coach Kurt Behrens. They helped the Hawkeyes reach 4 bowl games, including the 2016 Rose Bowl. Coach Kennedy said, "I'm really excited about Coach White joining our staff. He has extensive FBS and NFL experience and will bring a pro-style perspective to our special teams. He's a great addition because of his background and experience at a high level. This is the first time in a long time we've had a special teams coordinator as one of our 10 assistants, and there is nobody I'd rather work with than Chris because I think he's really good," end quote. He spent the last 3 years at Memphis, helped the Tigers advance to 3 consecutive bowl games. Memphis went 29-10 during those years and won all 3 of those bowl games. So seems like a really good hire. But also I think it probably eases some anxiety, maybe not the right word, but some discernment about the special teams position. Because here's the deal. The Grizz have had a whole bunch of great parts of their program, not just the last 8 years, not just all 16 years under Bobby Houck, but also just period for basically the last 40 years. But there's certainly been plenty of places to criticize. And there's certainly been plenty of places to criticize Bobby Houck. And we certainly have criticized Bobby Houck in certain ways that he did certain things at Montana. But I don't think that special teams is one of them. Coach Houck is one of the most revered, accomplished, and productive special teams coaches that college football has seen in the last 30 years. That is not glazing. That is not me being a stand for Coach Houck. That is facts. If you look at just the returners, I mean, if you were to name all of the best returners in Big Sky Conference history, I bet you 80% of them played for Bobby Houck during his 15 seasons at Montana. Look at the record setters. I mean, who's got the most kick return touchdowns in the history of the Big Sky? Malik Flowers. He threatened the all-time college football record. Who's got the most punt returns in the history of the Big Sky? Junior Bergen. Whose records did he break? Mark Mariani. I mean, but that's not even to mention Jefferson Heidelberger as a kick returner, Levander Seegers and Jerry Lou McGee and Tuff Harris as punt returners. And that's not to mention all the great kick and punt returners he had at San Diego State as well. I mean, Rashad Penny was one of the great kick returners in the history of college football, too. He played for Bobby Hauck at San Diego State. So the point is that I think that Bobby Hauck leaving Montana has some detriments and also some benefits. And I think at the end of the day, it's water under the bridge, and it's a new chapter, and it's a breath of fresh air. And I think that Bobby Kennedy has a chance to stamp it, make it his own, and if things go right, make people not have any anxiety about Bobby Hauck leaving. But I do think the one spot, if you were a Grizz follower and a Grizz fan, where you can say, how are we going to do this, is special teams. And I'm not saying Chris White's going to be as good as Bobby Hauck, but you can't really hire a guy with much better of a resume than that, right? Like, again, Bobby Hauck has an all-time great resume when it comes to coaching special teams at the highest level. But a guy that's coached for 30 years and has been, everywhere between Iowa and UNLV, Cal Poly and Syracuse, Memphis, but plus the NFL and Michigan and Arkansas State. I mean, Chris White has been all over the place, and I think that's pretty cool. Chris White said in the press release, obviously I have big shoes to fill. Special teams was important to Bobby Hauck, and it was his bread and butter. I can tell how important it was just watching their tape. The punt return and kick coverage last year, both incredible. It's ingrained in the team, and I can't wait to work with the core of guys we have. Hopefully we can keep that standard and elevate it if we can. End quote. During the Hauck tenure, the Grizz produced some of the most productive units in the FCS. They returned 21 punts and 11 kicks for touchdowns across Bobby Hauck's 15 seasons at the helm. He also helped develop multiple NCAA record holders in Junior Bergen and Malik Flowers, plus 2 Ray Guy punters of the year. He also had the FCS punter of the year a couple times as well. So, I mean, try and true, the resume is ridiculous. Bobby Hauck has a great resume. The best part of his resume is as a special teams coordinator. And he did that at Colorado and Washington before he ever got to Montana. He did it at San Diego State after Montana. He is definitely one of the best special teams minds ever in college football. I think that's not hyperbole whatsoever. So it is big shoes to fill for Chris White, but also he acknowledges that. He knows that. It's our Mo Club Minute, probably presented by the Mo Club downtown Missoula. Go check out the living history in the Mo Club and have yourself a hamburger while you're down there. It's the best old school grill you'll find anywhere. The hamburgers remain delicious. The beer remains cold. And Mo Club, an institution of downtown Missoula. Go check them out in the heart of the Garden City on Ryman Street. The Mo Club Minute here on Nuanez Now. Hour one of the books. Hour two coming at you. We'll talk some NFL. We will talk some more Big Sky Conference, and we'll fill in the blanks wherever we can. We'll see you on the other side. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the exceptionally designed 2024 Buick Envision with models starting at $39,795. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to DeMorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Envisions and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
Around here, we see a lot of people head out. No matter where they're going, we just make sure they're ready. Before you hit the road, Get a pre-trip safety check at Les Schwab Tires. It's free. Plus, this May, save up to $200 on select sets of 4 tires.
If we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Montana State football team traveled to Washington, D.C. on Wednesday to be honored at the White House following the program's first national championship in 41 years. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. The Bobcats earned the trip after defeating Illinois State 35-34 in overtime on January 5th in Nashville to capture the football championship subdivision national title, the program's first since 1984. Montana's congressional delegation extended the invitation, continuing a tradition that has also seen recent FCS champions North Dakota State and South Dakota State recognized in the nation's capital. The team visited the White House on Wednesday morning before touring the U.S. Capitol and the Senate later in the day. The Bobcats then returned to Montana, where they will waste little time getting back to work. Montana State opens fall camp Thursday afternoon as it begins its national title defense. The Bobcats return plenty of star power, with 12 players earning preseason All-Big Sky honors, including reigning Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, Caden Dowler, the Billings native who captured the league's Defensive MVP award last season. Across the state, a new era begins in Missoula. The University of Montana opens its first fall camp under head coach Bobby Kennedy on Friday, with the Grizzlies holding their first official practice on Monday. Montana features 3 preseason All-Big Sky selections, headlined by preseason Offensive Player of the Year, Eli Gilman. The senior running back enters the season less than 300 rushing yards away from reaching the 4,000-yard mark for his career.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
You know all about the podcast, yada, yada, yada. You already know how to stream it. 1029ESPN.com and the ESPN MT app. Subscribe to YouTube, all that good stuff. I'm rushing through my rejoins because I got a bone to pick. I literally went on ESPN.com to look up some more details about Tyreek Hill's injury. We have been talking NFL plenty the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue to do that. I got some specific NFL stuff planned. Brooks Nuanez, talking NFL over-unders and futures bets. Ryan Tutel, going to get with him a little bit as well. Of course, all of our NFL, especially through a sports gambling lens, is brought to you by Sportsbet Montana. Sportsbet Montana is a great website. Find out places to bet, odds, futures, all that stuff. We've been dragging our feet talking about the Tyreek Hill injury. It's crazy how much the NFL manufactures, not even manufactures, produces headlines. Well, they manufacture and produce headlines at the same time, right? Simultaneously. But this was the news of the day and also got buried immediately because of all the other big news that's happened. Tyreek Hill was one of the biggest stars in the NFL for the Kansas City Chiefs. Then he went to the Miami Dolphins. Supposed to be this revelation of a trade. He is one of the highest paid players in all of football. Well, last year he suffered one of the most gruesome injuries we've ever seen an elite player suffer. So I went on the ESPN.com website to find something about that. It's been 6 days, so I'm not saying they're burying the news whatsoever. But my bone to pick is they have a lead story about the tightest races for starting quarterback jobs in the NFL. Atlanta, okay. Michael Penix Jr., can he stay healthy? Tua Tagovailoa, can he stay healthy? Kirk Cousins in Las Vegas now, expected to mentor Francisco Mendoza. So I can see Atlanta. Cleveland, of course, they always have quarterback problems. Is Deshaun Watson actually ready to come back? He's been getting paid nothing but money to do absolutely nothing for the last 4 years. He's been suspended. He's been hurt. Everything from an 11-game suspension to an Achilles tear. It's been terrible for him. At one point, though, I thought he was a top 5 quarterback in the league. That was just a really long time ago. Does he still have that in him? When it comes to the rest of it, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco. I mean, Flacco's chilling in Missoula right now. He's been in Montana for like the last month. He's been seen in multiple public places in multiple towns across Montana. So I'm just teasing that he would be an option for the Browns, but he probably is if it all falls apart. They need it to be Deshaun Watson because they're paying him so much, but they also need it to be Shedeur Sanders because they're the only team that took the risk to draft him. I'm belaboring the point. You can talk to me about Cleveland. You can talk to me about Atlanta. You can talk to me about Las Vegas with number 1 pick Fernando Mendoza there, but also super veteran Kirk Cousins and last year's starter Aiden O'Connell. But the lead picture and the lead team in this ESPN article about QB1 battles during fall camp is of the Minnesota Vikings. And of course, I am extremely biased about the Vikings. Well, that's actually not true. I'm extremely partial toward the Vikings. I actually think I'm very unbiased about the Vikings. I do not think that my team, just because I root for them, I do not live in the world of sports delusion. Like, I literally bet against the Vikings a lot of times, and certainly I've made money off of their over-under, betting the under multiple times in the last couple of years as well. But it's still the reason I have a point of consternation about this is it's not because I'm biased to the Vikings. It's that there isn't a quarterback that at least there shouldn't be a quarterback competition in Minnesota. It's got to be Kyler Murray. The Kyler Murray experiment is like an exercise in karma for me. I loved Kyler Murray as a dual sport athlete when he was young. Loved Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. When he got drafted by the Cardinals, he eroded all of my vouching for him for just so many different reasons. I didn't like the nonchalant way of carrying himself. I thought he was just, spectacularly athletic and spectacularly mediocre all at the same time. And that's evidenced by being the number 1 overall pick, and then the Cardinals letting him walk. It's very interesting because the month leading up to that draft, his stock fell, and then it somehow rose again, and he still became the top pick, even though probably more than half, and probably even 2/3 of the NFL were off him and didn't think he was going to be a top, or didn't think he deserved to be a top pick. So this is why I'm living in purgatory, because I have analyzed this and talked about this and expressed my disappointment in Kyler Murray many times over. Yet, I think J.J. McCarthy showed me 2 things last year where I almost bought in. I almost decided I was a believer. And 300 things where I thought, I can't believe the Vikings drafted this guy in the top 10. And if they think he's the quarterback of the future, what is going on? The Vikings have made great play. I mean, I should say great, but they've made progress in the playoffs and had good teams with average to good quarterbacks. many times over, whether that was Brad Johnson or, Dante Culpepper was spectacular his first couple of years and then became average. But Christian Ponder, he's below average. Case Keenum, I'd say talent-wise, he's average. They made it to the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum. I think Kirk Cousins is pretty average. A lot of stands would say he's a little bit above average. People that just look at fantasy football numbers would say he was a good quarterback. I think he's a fine quarterback. I mean, hell, I'll take prime Kirk Cousins over Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy. There's no question about that. But my point is that Murray has been polarizing but still has a lot of talent. I think McCarthy's up a creek. Again, McCarthy had a couple, he probably had 5 quarters of football last year where I was like, oh man, he's either got it or he's got potential. But he also had as many or more just completely catastrophic quarters and stretches and just the season last year. I mean, it was a disaster. So when ESPN.com says that the Vikings have a quarterback battle, I just don't think there should be. I think that you traded for Kyler Murray. I know you don't want to give anything up. I know you want to challenge J.J. McCarthy. I get that. You're trying to spur on development, whatever. That should be Kyler Murray's job until he completely melts down. Because he can't really melt down that much worse than J.J. McCarthy did during the middle part of last year. He turned the corner a little bit, but the Vikings still finished outside the playoffs. And they have enough talent on their roster between Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson at tight end, a good offensive line, good players on defense. They just need to be – they need to get enough out of the quarterback to just be I shouldn't say just, but be a 10-win team. And certainly the Bears' arrival on the scene, which we're going to get to the Bears in just a minute, but the Bears' arrival on the scene, who knows if it's sustainable. Again, we're going to get to that in just 1 minute. But that definitely puts that division into a huge logjam. Because if you're Minnesota, you can't expect Detroit to be down like they were last year. And if they are again, then I think there's a lot of narratives that maybe are becoming true. Like Dan Campbell not being able to do it without elite offensive and defensive coordinators. But also, Jared Goff can't do it either. That's only if the Lions are a team that misses the playoffs again, though. But, I mean, they've been one of the best teams in football before last season for at least several years. You already know the Packers are going to be competitive. And if the Bears are even close to what they were a year ago, now in the NFC North, every single one of those teams can make the playoffs. But if you have a quarterback competition that doesn't go your way, or you have a quarterback controversy or a quarterback carousel, now all of a sudden the Vikings are definitively the worst team in that division. I told you I'm real about my team. If they play their cards wrong, and a lot of the attrition that they've had on their team, especially on their defense, with guys getting older, guys leaving the team, guys retiring, whatever, it actually might be your best bet to bet the Vikings to finish last in that division. It's crazy to say. But what I'm saying is that if you traded for you traded for Kyler Murray, you got to make that work while continuing to develop J.J. McCarthy behind the scenes. And you got to find a way to be at least in the playoff mix. That's like I was saying in hour number 1. We were talking about University of Idaho having the toughest schedule in the Big Sky, one of the eight toughest schedules in the country this year. You got it. That's your reality. So if you go win 8 games against that schedule, you're going to the playoffs. You go win 9, you're going to the playoffs. It's the same thing as Minnesota. If you can figure out a way to win 4 divisional games, you're going to be in the mix. Because that's a good division. It's a great division, in fact. It's one of the best divisions in football. They just got to figure out a way to do it. Nuanez Now 129 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Okay, so back to Tyreek Hill. I don't know what to make of that other than, 1, it's unfortunate. 2, you wonder if karma got back to him because he certainly had a hell of a last 2 years off the field. And you also wonder if he's going to make it back. It's like the reports were not great. There was no timetable set. This was 6 days ago. Training camp started, relatively a couple days after that. The Yahoo Sports article says his NFL future immediately remains unclear, and he's not signed with another team since he was released. That's the other part of the story. Miami released him, which is not great. Obviously, they've seen the medical report up close and personal. Certainly probably given him multiple physicals. And I don't know, you hope it's not over for him. But if you saw that injury and the way his leg twisted and just the aftermath of it, his like almost euphoric and also despondent reaction to it, it was all not great. Definitely no bueno. So I don't know what's next for Tyreek Hill, but here's the deal. If Tyreek Hill can get back healthy and pass a physical, he's going to get paid a lot of money on a short-term deal by a contender or by anybody. Maybe a non-contender pays him even more money, but a contender will pay him a decent amount of money if he can get back healthy. If not, that is it's an unfortunate circumstance when it comes to just one of the best players the National Football League has seen. Thanks to our friends at Sportsbet Montana. Get the Sportsbet Montana app in your life. The futures bets and all the over-under win totals are coming up soon. So either check out the Sportsbet Montana website to sort of preview those odds before I'm not going to look at the odds. I'm not looking at the over-under win totals. I'm going to try to guess the lines with Brooks Nuanez on our annual August All Football All the Time. We'll basically go through the 8 divisions. We'll do basically a north, south, east, west, AFC, NFC, 4 times, 4 weeks leading up to the season. I'll guess the over-under win totals, and Brooks will steer the ship. So stay tuned for that. But we can do that sort of fun and also, I think, valuable content here on Nuanez Now without our great friends at Sportsbet Montana. All right, so let's dive into some of this NFL stuff that I prepared weeks ago. This is how we roll during the summer. I sit down and I brainstorm all these different ideas. I make these crazy outlines. Ryan Tutell's always making fun of me for how many. He always says your outlines are the stuff of legend, because I do. I make so many notes, and we get to a lot of it, and then we don't. But again, between mid-May and early August, we have a lot of stuff to cover, but we also just have a lot of stuff to have to come up with stuff to talk about. So a lot of times I just over-prepare, and then I just sort of roll the segments through my outlines. But for whatever reason, Hayden Smith, here's the other part. Hayden Smith, the man behind the glass, he's been asking great questions. I told him, hey, come up with a list of questions, and we'll just go through them. And if we get to 1 or 2 in a segment, great. We're never going to get to 3 because I'm just going to ramble on about that specific thing. But he's also been preparing great questions. So I had a whole bunch of other questions that were prepared, me asking me, and we haven't got to them. But here we are. So let's do it. Appreciate you for hanging, by the way. Do me a favor. Go subscribe to that Nuanez Now podcast and the Nuanez Now YouTube channel. And keep those texts coming in. What do you want us to talk about? 406-888-1029. 406-888-1029. Let us know. Talking points, arguments, questions. What are you thinking about the Grizz or the Cats going into fall camp? What NFL stuff do you got? Let us know. 406-888-1029. All right, so I think if you were to do like 5 big questions about the NFL coming in the year, certainly one would have to be about Seattle repeating. One would have to be about the variety. Multiple handfuls of new head coaches in the league. Who's got the best shot to turn their team around? Part of it's got to be about the AFC and just the weirdness that was in the AFC. Whether it was Josh Allen not living up to the billing, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson fading, and John Harbaugh gets fired. They don't even make the playoffs. Bo Nix, all the one-score wins for the Broncos, but then breaks his ankle. And then the Patriots waltz around everybody and go to the AFC Championship. That's got to be one of it. One of the storylines. That's a top 3 storyline. But a part of that storyline, and what also has to be a top 5 storyline coming into the NFL season, is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's easy to forget because of the way it all gets muddled and how fast it all goes. The Chiefs are one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL last year. Anytime you got Patrick Mahomes and you got Andy Reid, if you don't make the playoffs, that's an abject failure. If you win 6 games, wow. There is an element here where the Chiefs might be done. I'm not saying they're done in terms of being a competitive winning team. If you are that team and you have that quarterback and you have that coach, you have to be a 8 to 9, 10 win team, even if things go completely off the rails. If you have any semblance of success or any magic, you got to be back to where you were at, though. 11, 12, 13 wins. But the Denver Broncos, we'll see if they're a contender. They're going to be in the mix, but are they actually like a best of the conference good type of team? Or did they just win a whole bunch of one-score games because they got a great coach, and maybe that regresses to the mean and it costs them 2 or 3 wins? I'm not sure, but either way, they're a real contender in that division, the AFC West. And the Chargers are also, they are there. They are it. They are a team that has an opportunity to cross over. They crossed over last year into being a surefire top 10 team, and some would even say like a top 6, 7, 8 team. Their ceiling would be a top 5 team, but they're going to have to overcome the Broncos and Chiefs in their own division. I think they're right there in the same sort of trajectory as the Texans. I think Justin Herbert is better than C.J. Stroud. I think the Texans defense is better than the Chargers, but I think the Chargers defense is good. What's up, AFC North? Can any of those teams get back on track or not? Of course, Josh Allen's there to stay in the AFC East, and Drake May and the Patriots are there entrenched. But can the Chargers be a top 3 or 4 team in the AFC? I think that's their ceiling. But the team that could disrupt all of that I just said about the AFC West, the Chiefs, are they back or not? Give us your questions, give us your comments, give us your concerns, give us your opinions, give us your arguments. 406-888-1029. If you do, we'll get you entered in to win a $25 gift card to DraftWorks Brewing. 406-888-1029. Let us know what you want us to talk about. All right, I told you we're going to get to the Bears. I actually take pride in my ability to admit when I was wrong. I had some pretty good exposure to Caleb Williams when he was in high school. When he was in college at USC. I'll be the first to tell you that I don't watch a ton of top-level FBS, Power 4 type football. That's so much because of just schedule and what I do for a living and what I know you guys want. So, on Saturday, I'm at a Grizz game or a Bobcat game or both, and I'm covering the other one, no matter which one I'm at. And I'm monitoring other Big Sky games. I certainly got my other college football scoreboard up, but I don't watch a ton. But I do watch the West Coast teams, and one of my best friends is a USC fan. So I watched a ton of Caleb Williams when he was in college. And I must admit, I probably was drinking the Haterade, not the Gatorade, not the Kool-Aid, the Haterade, because I thought he was not going to be able to be a great leader of an NFL team. Well, I'm still a little bit skeptical of his overall intangibles and leadership ability, but it's certainly better than I thought. His talent is also way superior to what I thought. In college, he was very talented. You could tell he's very talented. I thought he had a chance to be one of those guys that went to the NFL and his his natural ability to do things would not be enough to carry him, and he would not be enough to carry a team. Well, I was wrong. One of my biggest and hottest takes over the last couple of years was to bet against the Bears in the over-under win total, bet against the Bears as a playoff team. I'm pretty sure it's one of the only bets I've ever told you to just straight up book it. Tail me. Do it. And, last year the Bears were good. There's a lot of factors that go into it, just like there always is in the NFL. But you are what your win-loss total says you are. And the Bears were 11-6. They won the division. The Packers, Vikings, and Lions were all disappointing last year. Packers finished 9-7-1, made the playoffs, dipped out early. Vikings finished 9-8. They had to rally late to get to that record. The Lions finished 9-8. They faded late to sit at that record. I still think, and maybe this part of this is my own bias, but I still think the Bears are at best the third team in that division. And that's if I'm saying my own personal favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings, are last. But that's how I would handicap it. I think it's Packers 1A, Detroit 1B, Bears 3, Vikings 4. And I would not put the Bears and the Vikings that far away from each other. That said, I was wrong about Caleb Williams. I think he's a legitimate player. And if he takes another step, then I'm going to eat crow all day long, all day for 10 years straight, because that'll mean he is actually absolutely transcendent in talent, which he might be. I'll get to more about what I think about the Bears once we get to our over/under win totals, but I am bearish on the Bears. I'm fading the Bears, I think. Actually, I'm sure. And part of that, again, is just I thought that last year they broke through in a big way, but also had some breaks, which, again, in the NFL, that's what it takes. Stay healthy, get some breaks, also have some breaks that have nothing to do with your games, have other teams have bad breaks or other teams fall in lulls. I still think just on paper, here's the deal. I think the Bears would easily win the NFC South. I think the Bears would be one of the two best teams in the NFC East. I think the Bears will absolutely be in the mix as a playoff team. I still just think they're the third best team in the division. And I just think that's because the Chicago was an overachiever a year ago, and Detroit and Green Bay were underachievers, and the Vikings were just riding the roller coaster. I already did my 2 cents on Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy, but I just don't think the Vikings should or could be a true contender. They could sneak into a wild card spot. I just think that's the most stacked division in the NFL. I know the NFC West has the reputation because of the Seahawks as the defending Super Bowl champs. The Rams are right there with the Seahawks all year long last year. The 49ers, are they good or not? I don't know. Do they still have a window? Cardinals are supposed to be better than they were last year, and that's what had them have a bunch of turnover this offseason. But I know that's the division that's considered the best because I think there's two teams in that division that can win the Super Bowl. I mean, I think two of the five or maybe even two of the three best teams in the NFL are the Seahawks and the Rams, especially now that the Rams acquired Myles Garrett. But I still think Chicago is one of the, 6 or 8 best teams in the NFC. They're just not one of the two best teams in their division. So we'll do some power rankings, some preseason power rankings soon as well. But there's my 2 cents about the Bears. Nuanez Now ESPN Radio, all of our NFL coverage, probably presented by Sportsbet Montana. Get the app, check out the website. Appreciate Sportsbet Montana.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky Country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Why would any business let you use their product and give you 365 days of reassurance? Mattress Firm does because they believe in their mattresses. Save on top brands like Nectar, Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest, Serta, Stearns & Foster, and others. Mattress Firm carries $149 mattresses all the way up to the luxury Purple Rejuvenate Premier. 0% in payments as low as $39 a month, along with 365 days of reassurance. See why Mattress Firm is Montana's best place to find the sleep you deserve.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Montana State football team traveled to Washington, D.C. on Wednesday to be honored at the White House following the program's first national championship in 41 years. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. The Bobcats earned the trip after defeating Illinois State 35-34 in overtime on January 5th in Nashville to capture the football championship subdivision national title, the program's first since 1984. Montana's congressional delegation extended the invitation, continuing a tradition that has also seen recent FCS champions North Dakota State and South Dakota State recognized in the nation's capital. The team visited the White House on Wednesday morning before touring the U.S. Capitol and the Senate later in the day. The Bobcats then returned to Montana, where they will waste little time getting back to work. Montana State opens fall camp Thursday afternoon as it begins its national title defense. The Bobcats return plenty of star power, with 12 players earning preseason All-Big Sky honors, including reigning Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, Caden Dowler, the Billings native who captured the league's Defensive MVP award last season. Across the state, a new era begins in Missoula. The University of Montana opens its first fall camp under head coach Bobby Kennedy on Friday, with the Grizzlies holding their first official practice on Monday. Montana features 3 preseason All-Big Sky selections, headlined by preseason Offensive Player of the Year, Eli Gilman. The senior running back enters the season less than 300 rushing yards away from reaching the 4,000-yard mark for his career.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Coulter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studios. Checking in with Taden Gray, a defensive back and a preseason All-League selection for the Montana State Bobcats. Taden, thanks for being here, man. How's it going?
It's going good, man. I had a good day. We had a couple meetings this morning, so, just getting started fall camp day one.
Well, a whirlwind week for you guys. You get a little impromptu trip across the country, go to Washington, D.C., and you get to check out the White House and the state capitol and all that. And then you got to beat me back because fall camp starts today. So take me through it. What was it like just being in D.C. and checking out all the sites there are to see?
Oh, man, it was amazing. Just something, real great experience, like great people, just everything, the statues, the buildings, just the history behind it, being able to, actually see Trump in person and, just be there, seeing, President Wall of Fame, being in the Oval Office, it was just all amazing, great experience. It was a lot to take in at the time, but like afterwards, everybody was just super excited with the pictures we got and stuff like that. So it was great.
Well, a super cool experience for you guys, and what a cool deal, especially to do it in the 250th anniversary of America, to celebrate the national championship and all this stuff. How have you sort of compartmentalized that part of this? It's always so interesting when you win a championship because you want to enjoy it. What a cool deal for you guys. But you don't get much time to enjoy it because it's back to the grind, and all of a sudden you're into spring ball, then you're into fall camp. So how have you got about balancing that part? How have you stayed focused?
Low key, our motto is go 1-0. So like, forget everything that happened last year. It's a new year, new team. We can't let what happened in the past affect what's going on right now. We just got to stay focused on the goal right now this year was to get another one.
One thing I talked about with Taco Dowler at Big Sky Kickoff was just sort of avoiding complacency. How do you do that? Like, how do you not rest on the success you've had? How do you stay hungry?
I'd say just trying to find new things to get better at every day, not just reminiscing on the past, focus on the present and the future, and just keep trying to get better every day and doing what you need to do to like be successful in the things you need to do.
Tatum Gray here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. So you got a nice nod with the spot on the preseason All-League list. So what was your reaction when you heard that you landed on the list?
It was a good reaction. I told my fiance we all got happy and things like that. It's preseason, so it's not official. That's my mindset right now. I got to make it official and make it an actual thing.
Well, very cool. But you've had a lot of building block seasons leading up to this. You had a great year a year ago. So what sort of things do you want to maintain from last year, and what sort of improvements did you try to make this offseason?
Maintain, I'd say, my tackling ability. I think I do very good in tackling. Covering, and I'd say what I need to improve on is being consistent in the things I'm good at. Like my eyes, when I need to read my keys and things of that nature, just certain things that I need to work on and get better and be perfect.
Well, the spot you play, the nickel spot in the MSU defense, is such an important one. It's been fascinating to see how nickel, that position has just evolved over the last 10 years in football. It's become such an important deal. It used to just be the third corner, right? Now, as a real position that has all sorts of different responsibilities. So how have you grown in just your understanding of those responsibilities over the last couple of years?
Getting the knowledge from my coach, Coach Shep. He played safety. I'm not sure if he played nickel, but he knows like everything about nickel. Just getting in the film room, studying, listening to podcasts or like videos of how to be a better nickel and the things you need to do to improve as a nickel. Watching nickels in the league. It's this one nickel. He plays for the Patriots. He plays offense and defense. He's number 25. I'm not sure his name because I watch so many, but he's a good person to watch for sure.
Is there anybody else that you look up to in terms of guys that you watch? Even if you just have numbers, that's cool. But I mean, is there anybody that you look up to that plays the nickel really well?
Not nickels, but corners. I look up to J.C. Horn and Jalen Ramsey. It's just like the way they play man, I can like transfer that into my nickel ability and make me a better nickel.
Yeah, I just looked up the Patriots roster. Marcus Jones, he's a great player. Number 25 for the Patriots for sure. The Patriots have a couple guys like that. Actually, Marte Mapu, who used to play at Sac State, he plays for the Patriots too, and he flexes. He plays some safety, he plays some corner, he plays some nickel. So I know that's one thing that your coaches have done for you guys too, though, is prioritize versatility. I know you can play a little corner yourself too. So having guys that are interchangeable, how much does that help just the flow and the productivity of the secondary?
It's real great because we can just switch around. Have different abilities, different skills at multiple positions. Like me, C-Dow can play literally any position on the field in defense. So is me. So just having guys like that, we can just rotate and not get injured, stay healthy is real good for us.
Tatum Gray joining us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television and the ESPN Montana app. So take me through the secondary then. You guys have some key returners like yourself, Takari Carr, Caden Dowler, some other guys that contributed last year as well, despite some injuries like Takiula Kepa and Nate Dolan, but also going to be a lot of new faces at corner with the guys that transferred. So take me through to sort of the dynamic of the room and how have you guys gone about trying to replace those guys that did leave?
It's been smooth right now. We're trying to find, our starting corners. We have one. We're just trying to find the other one. Safety's pretty much the same as last year, not really that much difference. Taki coming back, JJ coming back is like a great add-on, amazing add-on. Two great guys, they can play their position. Corners, our transfers, they're not bad. They're, hanging on with our offense, so that's all you need to see, for sure.
And then when it just comes to having the defensive player of the year, anchor in the back end, and being the guy that's sort of the quarterback of the secondary, and honestly probably the quarterback of the defense, how much confidence does that give you guys? And what have you thought of just the way that Caden Dowler's been able to emerge and become such a great leader for your defense?
It's great confidence. He's like the spark to us. Anytime we're down, he'll say something, yell at us, get us right. Anytime we see him make a good play, encourage us to want to get out there and make better plays. You know, he's just a great all-around guy. He's always there. He's the energy to our back end for sure.
Well, impressive and a great story for sure. How about the transition under Bobby Daly? He's been there before, so does that make it easier, just having a guy that already knows the language, knows the verbiage, knows the defense?
Yeah, definitely. Having him back, we're going to do a lot of new things, a lot of previous things we did. Just having him back is good because he really knows the defense for sure, like the back of his hand. So it's great to have him back for sure.
What has you most excited about this upcoming season?
I just say the way our defense is going to play this year, like the way we can just show out and stand 10 toes and not be, a fall off. Just keep going up, keep stacking days, just keep getting better. I just feel like we're going to be way better than last year for sure.
Well, you guys were so good last year. So what's the next step? Like, what are the parts you think you can be better as a defense?
I say camaraderie. We play as a brotherhood, but I feel like we can play more as a brotherhood, even like outside of football. I just feel like it's a couple things we can improve on to make us way better for sure.
Tatum Gray here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Anything that you're dreading about fall camp, or anything that you're not looking? I mean, obviously fall camp's always a grind, so probably looking forward to it being over. But also, you got to sort of embrace the grind sometimes. But what do you guys hope to accomplish this fall camp, and what sort of things are you looking forward to work on here?
Just getting better at the little things, coming together, the team stronger and better in our bonds. Competing, seeing who's the ones, the twos, the threes, and fours. Doesn't really matter. Just having players that can play everywhere and anywhere, to be honest.
Well, we appreciate you for taking some time today, man, and thanks for doing it, and we'll talk to you soon. But good luck with fall camp, and we'll see you down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encores and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
It's easy to see why Montana is the treasure state. At the University of Montana, we look inside. We see an old truth with fresh eyes, that Montana's greatest treasure is its people. So whatever tomorrow brings, we meet it the only way we know how, with a mind for making. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Missoula.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Appreciate you for hanging. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Took a little break from the NFL to talk some Bobcat football. It's media day in Bozeman. I was not able to make it over there today, but certainly got a whole bunch of good stuff there. I was able to zoom in. So we got a bunch of stuff from the Big Sky Kickoff, a bunch of stuff from the Bobcat Media Day as well. And the Grizz start tomorrow, so we'll have some stuff around that as well. So looking forward to all that. We'll also hear from Eli Gilman tomorrow. I sat down with Eli at the Big Sky Kickoff over the weekend, so we'll have that interview for you during tomorrow's Nuanez Now. If you missed anything in the show today, you can always find it on the podcast, which is available on all your various different podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Appreciate the questions. We're going to get to as many of those as we can tomorrow, but anybody and everybody that entered in questions, you're basically like a semifinalist for the Thirsty Thursdays cards from DraftWorks Brewing. And then whenever it gets read on the air, then we'll pick a winner amongst those that get read on the air. I want to talk a little bit more NFL here to wind down the show, but first I had one more fun today in sports history. We highlighted Babe Ruth breaking the all-time home run record way back in 1921 when he went over 129 home runs. That was his career record. He, of course, then pushed it 139, Roger Connors had the all-time record at 138. Babe Ruth passed him on July 30th, 1921. He then went on to hit 59 home runs that year, which was a mind-blowing number. I mean, he had more home runs than a lot of teams entire teams in the whole league. He, of course, then finished with 714 home runs, which was a record that stood until Hank Aaron broke it, some probably 30 years later. So that was a fun one. But another fun one, and I think this is a shout-out to my mom. She loves the Olympics and loves gymnastics. And she was a gigantic Mary Lou Retton fan. Mary Lou Retton won the Olympic gold 42 years to the day, July 30th, 1984, in the all-round. This was at the Los Angeles Olympics. Mary Lou Retton was the first American woman to ever win the Olympic all-round. The Soviets had dominated it so much. Nadia Comaneci in the 70s was about as untouchable and as unbelievable as a gymnast had been to that point. But Mary Lou Retton, she capped her all-around title with a perfect 10 on the vault and a perfect 10 on the floor, and that helped her cap a come-from-behind win. The broadcast drew massive audiences with it being in America. And then Mary Lou Retton became a phenomenon. She was one of the biggest stars of the mid-1980s because of that gold medal. And she certainly had her well-chronicled personal struggles ever since then, but that was certainly an iconic moment in Olympic history, no question about it. All right, let's go back to the NFL. I did my whole deal on the NFC North, and we talked about Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago we had a question about the Detroit Lions. We talked about them. We'll get to the Packers a little bit next time I talk to Ryan Tutel. I don't know where I sit with the Vikings. I think Kyler Murray, if he's good, the Vikings could be good. If he's average, I think the Vikings will be average to below average, and if he's bad, then the Vikings are going to be bad, and that's just sort of where it's at. But when I look at the rest of the NFC, I think the NFC East is wide open. I don't know if the Giants are going to be on the come up, but if Jackson Dart takes another step, I think that they could be decent. But I think that's a division that's wide open. I could see every team in that division winning it. I think it would be the biggest long shot for the Giants, but the other three, I think it's right there. In the West, I think same deal. I think that the Cardinals would be a surprise if they won it, but I think that everybody else is not just a divisional contender, but maybe even a conference contender. But it's the NFC South that I want to focus on to end the show, and we'll hash these teams out individually a little bit more. But this should be the easiest division to win in the NFL because none of the teams are good. But that's why it was such a dogfight last year, because everybody was bad, was either below average or bad, right? Atlanta faded down the stretch last year. Tampa Bay and Atlanta are the teams that should be winning this division, but then somehow Carolina was the one that got into the playoffs out of the NFC South. So, and maybe the Panthers are making strides. I don't know. I think Bryce Young is actually a good story. It's a story of patience. So often we don't see NFL teams have patience in the scope of quarterback development. But Bryce Young was the rare guy who was the number 1 overall pick who started. That's not that rare. But then got benched, but then has gotten another chance to sort of have a resurgence with the same team. Usually when guys have to have a resurgence as fallen out of favor number 1 picks, they got to go somewhere else. Look at Baker Mayfield, right? He had to go all over the place. He was out of the league for a little while before he finally made it back, and now has been good to very good with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Bryce Young fought his way back. And I do think that the Panthers have quietly assembled a pretty decent squad around him. I think they're pretty good on defense. That they're just an okay team, and that's indicative of their okay, 8-9, 500 record. The Saints, I actually don't know how the Saints won any games last year, because I think the Saints personnel-wise are a bottom 5 team. But the Falcons are the team I want to focus on right now, because the Falcons, again, first of all, were supposed to be the team that won that division. They should have been able to cruise to that division title. And they had such a bad middle part of the year. They started out 3-2, which is fine. But then they lost 5 in a row, including terrible losses to Miami and Indianapolis and Carolina in overtime. Then they snapped the losing streak with a win over the downtrodden Saints, but then lost to the New York Jets. And then they got blown out by the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And by that time, it was sort of too late. They won 4 straight down the stretch, but it wasn't enough. And they finished on the outside looking in. And, part of it was just all the different ups and downs they had at quarterback. Well, Kirk Cousins isn't there anymore. He went from sort of stabilizing force to bridge gap to old and can't throw it at all. and in the meantime, Michael Penix is hurt, and so you're just swimming upstream. Well, now Penix, who knows what his health is going to be. He has not had good health basically in his football life for a long time. But they brought in Tua Tagovailoa. So that is, if you have an injury-prone quarterback, I don't think the guy you want to be your safety net and your insurance policy to be Tua Tagovailoa. But that is what Atlanta did. I just want to know how much does Tua have left in the tank. It's a very interesting fold, because when Tua Tagovailoa announced his arrival to the world, it was in that national championship game that was actually being played. I was either in the Superdome or at New Orleans or at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. I can't remember. I think I might have been the Superdome. It might have been in Atlanta. I can't remember. But he came off the bench in that national championship game, replaced Jalen Hurts, and he looked like a transcendent talent. He looked like one of the next guys. And you wonder if he could rechannel that, right? Like, there was a moment in time where he was being touted as the next guy that was going to arrive as a top 10, top 8 type of guy. That did not play out. And certainly he's had his well-chronicled health problems and head injuries and all these various different factors. If Tua could be good, the Falcons have a lot of firepower on offense. Bijan Robinson is one of the best players in the NFL. They got Brian Robinson as a backup. That's a nice little 1-2. That's a potential handcuff that you do in fantasy football. Drake London is good and could be great. Kyle Pitts actually came alive last year after being so mediocre. I think that the Falcons are good on the offensive line, anchored by Jake Matthews. Defensively, though, they got to make some strides. Jesse Bates is one of the best players in the NFL that people don't know about. Mike Hughes is also very good at corner. Like those two guys is something to build around. They got to get some production out of their front four, though. They got to get a way to get home to the passer. And they just have to realize their full potential. Like they just need to. The Falcons could dominate this division if they would just rise up and embrace it and fulfill their potential. And so I thought Atlanta was one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL last year. I'm really not sure if the Bucs got that much better in the offseason. I'm really not sure if the Saints or the Panthers did either. And I don't know if Atlanta did either. It's going to come down to, can Michael Penix get healthy and beat out Tua, or can Tua stay healthy? And is he the guy that's definitively better than Penix? And we're just not going to know. We're not going to know until we know. So, I think Atlanta is actually one of the most interesting teams in the league. It could be a team that's, a top 5 team in the NFC. They could be a team that's out of the playoffs. If they're out of the playoffs, though, to me, that's a disappointment. So it'll be interesting to see. We're going to start diving into NFL over-unders. We'll go division by division with Brooks Nuanez starting next week. It's been fun talking NFL with you throughout this second hour. And to keep those questions coming in, we don't have to just talk Grizz, Cats, high school stuff. Also, let us know what you want to know about the NFL, too. Fantasy football, any of that stuff. You got positions, you got draft stuff, whatever. 406-888-1029. Today is a Thursday presented by DraftWorks, but that'll get you entered in to maybe win a $25 gift card. But we'll have prizes for you pretty much every day, whether it's DraftWorks or Tagliari Deli or Wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill or whatever else we could round up. So let us know what you want us to talk about. 406-888-1029. Shoot us a text and let us know. Appreciate you for hanging. Thanks so much. Appreciate Hayden Smith for putting the show together today. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. We're going to hear from Eli Gilman tomorrow. We'll keep on talking football, of course, and whatever else we can get to. We'll have some fun. In the meantime, have yourself a wonderful Thursday evening and be good. Nuanez Now, 1029, ESPN Radio.